Lucia entered the empty warehouse with Jason close behind her. The place was dim, lit only by a single bulb swinging above a wooden table. A small crew waited around the blueprints of the downtown bank. Papers were scattered, guard routes marked in red, and escape streets circled in blue. Lucia leaned over the table, tracing a path toward the vault. She spoke calmly, assigning roles as she analyzed every detail. Jason stayed slightly apart, kneeling beside a crate while checking signal blockers and communication devices. Each device flickered green as he tested it, confirming the gear was ready. Marco described the guard rotation while Tessa pointed out the vault timer. The crew quietly reviewed every movement they would need to make inside the bank. No one raised their voice. The tension was the only sound stronger than the buzzing fan overhead. After finalizing the plan, Lucia stepped back and reminded the crew of their positions. Jason loaded the last of the equipment into a duffel bag, ensuring everything matched the plan exactly. Later that night, the crew watched the bank from a parked van across the street. Bright lights reflected off the glass entrance as guards continued their regular walk. Lucia studied their timing, counting each rotation. Jason monitored a small tablet showing tapped surveillance feeds, confirming every detail matched what they saw earlier in the day. The crew stayed silent as they observed the perfect moment to strike. The night air felt heavy, the tension rising as they prepared for the mission ahead. Lucia and Jason approached the staff entrance of the bank dressed in maintenance uniforms. The morning light reflected off the building's tall glass panels as office workers rushed inside, barely noticing them. The staff door buzzed open after Lucia swiped a forged card, letting them step into a quiet hallway that smelled of fresh paint and cleaning chemicals. Inside, they separated without a word. Lucia walked toward the lobby maintenance area, holding a clipboard stacked with fake work orders. Jason moved in the opposite direction, staying close to the wall as he slid a small signal blocker behind a service cabinet. A security officer approached Lucia, eyeing her paperwork. Lucia kept her voice steady. New maintenance request. They want all this checked before the shift ends. The officer glanced at the page, confused but not enough to suspect anything. He nodded and walked off, leaving Lucia to continue toward a power junction. Down the hall, Jason knelt beside an open panel. He pretended to tighten bolts while placing another signal blocker inside the wiring. A different guard walked up behind him, suspicious. Didn't know maintenance was scheduled today, the guard said. Jason didn't look up. Yeah, emergency check. Panel was overheating. The guard leaned closer. Jason kept his movements slow and steady, hiding the device with his hand until the guard finally stepped back, accepting the explanation. Lucia finished her distraction and slipped into the hallway where Jason was working. They exchanged a quick glance, both aware of how close the moment had been. Without speaking, they moved toward the elevator, remaining cautious as the building grew louder with activity. The shift change began. New guards arrived, old ones left through side doors, and the bank's routines briefly fell out of sync. Lucia and Jason stopped beside the elevator, waiting for the exact moment when the flow of staff created a blind spot. The elevator doors slid open. Lucia stepped in first, Jason right behind her. The doors closed silently, cutting them off from the busy hallway as they prepared for the next phase of the mission. The elevator doors opened to a narrow, low-lit corridor deep beneath the bank. The restricted floor felt colder, quieter, and far more controlled than the floors above. Metal doors lined the hallway, each with small red security lights glowing faintly. The hum of heavy machinery vibrated through the floor. Jason moved first, holding a compact hack device that flickered with blue signals. Lucia and the crew followed closely behind him, their steps soft, their breathing measured. Every sound felt louder down here. Jason stopped beneath a camera mounted high on the corner wall. He pressed his device against the panel beneath it. A soft pulse of static spread across the camera feed before its red indicator light faded to black. Camera down. We've got about 40 seconds, Jason whispered. Lucia nodded and motioned the team forward. She kept her eyes sharp, scanning every corner. They passed through a narrow security checkpoint and approached the thick vault corridor, where the air seemed heavier from the reinforced steel all around. A sudden footstep echoed from the far end of the hall. A guard turned the corner, walking their way. Lucia reacted instantly. She signaled the nearest crew member. Jason flattened against the wall. The guard's footsteps grew closer, his key ring jingling against his belt. As he passed, the crew member moved fast, grabbing him from behind. Lucia covered the guard's mouth while Jason pulled him into the shadows. The guard struggled for only a moment before going still. They lowered him gently to the floor to avoid any sound. Lucia whispered, "Move. The time is still running." They reached the towering vault door, thick, polished steel with a central lock mechanism glowing bright green. Jason connected a small device to the access port. The numbers on its screen began counting down far too quickly. The beeping grew rapid. The vault's internal locks shifted with deep metallic thuds that shook the floor. With a heavy final click, the door rolled open. Stacks of cash filled the room from wall to wall, bathed in cool white lights. Organized rows of gold bars sat on reinforced shelves, reflecting a warm glow. The crew didn't hesitate. Lucia grabbed empty bags and tossed them to everyone. Load everything. Fast. Jason swept entire stacks of cash into a duffel bag while Lucia packed gold bars, each one landing with a soft metallic thud. The room filled with the quiet sounds of rushing hands, rustling bills, and the steady hum of the vault machinery. They worked quickly, knowing the silence wouldn't last much longer. The last bag hit the floor, packed tight with cash and gold, when a sharp electronic chirp echoed through the vault. Jason froze. Lucia looked up just as the lights flickered. A second alarm system activated, one they hadn't accounted for. A harsh metallic siren burst to life above them. Red emergency lights washed the vault in flashing color. The crew exchanged alarmed looks as the heavy shutters in the hallway began sliding down. Lucia spoke fast. Grab the bags. Move now. They rushed out of the vault, dragging loaded duffels along the polished floor. The hallway outside was already changing, shutters dropping, steel barriers locking into place, and a recorded voice repeating a warning through the speakers. Jason pointed down the corridor. Maintenance shafts. Only way out. They sprinted toward a small access door at the corner of the restricted level. The ground shook as guards above ran down the stairs, their radios crackling through the vents. The sound of boots and shouting grew louder by the second. Lucia pushed the crew ahead of her. Go. Go. Move before they seal this place. Jason yanked open the maintenance panel. Behind it, a narrow shaft descended into darkness. One by one, the crew slipped inside, lowering themselves onto the metal grates below. Lucia shoved the last bag through, then followed quickly. The moment she pulled the panel behind her, the final shutter slammed shut outside with a heavy echo, sealing off the vault corridor. Inside the shaft, the team moved fast. The metal rungs rattled beneath their weight. Dust fell each time someone shifted. Above them, guards pounded on the sealed door and shouted orders, unaware the crew was already crawling through the bank's hidden infrastructure. Lucia led them upward through a cramped service passage. The red emergency lights from above seeped through vents, casting sharp streaks of color across the metal walls. Every corner carried the muffled sound of guards racing past. When they reached the top hatch, Jason carefully pushed it open. A small hallway lay beyond, still empty, but no longer safe. The entire bank was now engulfed in chaos. Officers moved room to room, alarms blared non-stop, and emergency lockdown shutters had cut off multiple sections of the building. Lucia glanced back at the crew, her expression sharp. They know someone's down here. Stay low. Stay fast. We're not done yet. The mission had shifted completely, and now every floor above them was a battlefield. The crew burst out of the maintenance shaft and into a narrow hallway filled with flashing red lights. Every exit below was locked down, leaving only one option. Lucia pointed up the emergency stairwell. Roof. Move. They climbed fast, boots thundering against metal steps. Sirens echoed through the building, mixing with the distant chop of helicopter blades. Dust drifted from the ceiling with each rushing step as the tension climbed higher. Jason looked down the stairwell. They're right behind us. The crew pushed harder, reaching the final flight just as a heavy door upstairs shook from guards trying to break through. Lucia shoved the rooftop door open, and a burst of strong wind slammed against them. The rooftop stretched wide, scattered with vents, antennas, and flashing emergency strobes. Above them, a police helicopter circled low, its searchlight sweeping dangerously close to the roof's edge. The helicopter pilot spotted movement and turned the beam toward them. Lucia shielded her eyes while Jason pulled a flare gun from his vest. Jason fired upward. The flare streaked through the sky, glowing bright red. The pilot pulled the helicopter sideways to avoid it, causing the searchlight to swing away for a moment. Lucia didn't waste a second. She ran to the edge of the building and anchored a zip line to a thick metal pipe. Her hands moved fast, clipping the line to a fixed hook aimed at a parking tower across the street. "Line's ready," she shouted. The rooftop door behind them burst open as armed guards stormed out. Their shouts were barely audible over the helicopter blades. "Go," Lucia ordered. The first crew member hooked onto the zip line and launched off the edge, sliding across the open air. Another followed right behind him, their duffel bags swinging in the wind. Jason glanced at the approaching guards. They're closing in. Lucia motioned for him. You're next. Move. Jason clipped onto the zip line and jumped. The wind ripped past him as he slid toward the tower, sparks flying from the cable as he held tight. Lucia was the last one on the roof. Guards sprinted toward her from both sides, their footsteps pounding across the concrete. She grabbed the final hook, clipped in, and leapt off just as the guards reached the edge. She slid across the line at full speed, wind screaming past her, the parking tower rushing closer. Below her, traffic continued like nothing was happening, unaware of the escape unfolding above. As Lucia reached the tower, Jason grabbed her arm and pulled her safely onto the ledge. The crew took a moment to breathe as the helicopter circled back, searching for where they'd gone. Lucia pointed toward the parking levels below. We keep moving. They won't stop now. The mission pushed forward with no room to slow down. The crew hit the concrete floor of the parking tower running. Their zipline hooks clattered against the ground as they sprinted between parked cars. The wind from the rooftop escape still whipped through their clothes. Lucia pointed toward a black SUV hidden behind a support pillar. There. Go. Jason unlocked it with a quick command on his device. The doors popped open, and the crew threw their heavy bags inside before climbing in. The moment Jason started the engine, the sound of multiple sirens echoed up the spiral ramps. Lucia looked over her shoulder. They're coming in fast. Jason reversed hard, spinning the SUV around and launching down the ramp. Tires screeched as they dropped one level. The bright red and blue glow of police lights flooded the floor above them. A squad of police cars burst into the tower entrance just as the SUV reached the next turn. Officers shouted orders, their voices bouncing off the concrete walls. Jason drifted around the corner, narrowly missing a parked sedan. Hang on. The crew braced themselves as the SUV tilted dangerously close to the barrier. Lucia opened her door slightly and kicked over a rolling tool cart left by a mechanic. The cart tumbled down the ramp, causing two police cars to swerve, scraping against each other. Metal sparked across the floor. Jason accelerated again, dropping down another level. Sirens wailed behind them, growing louder. Lucia spotted a stack of orange construction cones near the edge. She pushed them off the ledge, sending them scattering across the path just as another squad car turned the corner. The officers struggled to avoid the sliding cones, slowing their chase. Exit's coming up. Jason shouted. But as they reached the bottom, the exit was blocked. 3 police cars parked sideways across the ramp, forming a tight roadblock. Officers stood behind open doors, prepared to stop anything coming through. Lucia's eyes widened. They boxed us in. Jason didn't slow down. He shifted gears and turned the wheel sharply. No, we're going over. He aimed the SUV toward the outer ledge of the parking level. The open air below stretched across a short gap before the street. Lucia grabbed the handle. Jason. He hit the gas. The SUV launched off the edge, the tires leaving the concrete with a violent jolt. For a split second, the vehicle hung above the street, the city spinning beneath them. Then, impact. The SUV landed hard onto the road below, suspension groaning but holding strong. Pedestrians screamed and scattered. The vehicle fishtailed for a moment, then straightened as Jason regained control. Above them, stunned officers looked down from the parking tower. Lucia exhaled sharply. We're still in this. Keep going. The chase wasn't over, just changing streets. The SUV bursts out of a side street and skids onto the sandy shoreline. The camera swings low, catching sand shooting from the tires as Lucia slides into the driver's seat while the vehicle is still rolling. Jason leans out the rear window, gripping a smoke grenade. Behind them, 2 police cruisers hit the beach. Sirens echo between palm trees. Beachgoers drop towels and scatter. Jason. Smoke going out. He pulls the pin and rolls a grenade into the tire tracks. A thick gray cloud blooms, swallowing the pursuing cars. The camera rises above the beach, officers waving hands, blinded. Lucia powers forward, weaving between umbrellas, coolers, and panicked NPCs. The SUV bounces over uneven sand, jolting the frame. Lucia. Hold on. They're pushing hard. 2 patrol cars fan out from the smoke, tires digging deep into the sand. Jason opens the back door, tossing another smoke grenade that bursts right under their grills. A lifeguard tower rises ahead. Lucia threads the SUV narrowly under the wooden stairs, splashing through a shallow patch of water. The camera tightens on Jason as he steadies himself, breathing fast. Suddenly, a heavy patrol truck roars in from the right, blocking the forward path. Its lights flash across the sand, forming a wall of red and blue. Jason. They're sealing us in. Lucia jerks the wheel left. The camera snaps to the hood, catching umbrellas exploding as the SUV slices between chairs and beach carts. NPCs dive aside, yelling in shock. A cruiser nearly clips their rear bumper, and Jason reacts fast, tossing a smoke grenade that detonates against its windshield. The car spirals, swerving into the sand dunes. Lucia spots something ahead, a narrow wooden pier, half hidden behind a cluster of boats and kiosks. Lucia. Pier? Straight through it. She floors the gas. The SUV kicks up a wave of sand as it darts around the final patrol truck. Officers shout from behind, their figures fading in the drifting smoke. The camera pulls wide, showing the SUV racing toward the old pier as the sun drops lower over the water, setting the stage for the next escape. The SUV skids to a stop beside the pier, its tires spraying sand. The camera tilts down as Lucia and Jason jump out, sprinting toward a small boat covered by a weather-worn tarp. Waves slap against the posts below, glowing orange from the sinking sun. Jason yanks the tarp away, revealing a compact black speedboat with a humming engine ready to fire. Jason. Boat's clean. Go. Lucia leaps in first, sliding behind the controls. Jason unhooks the rope and pushes off. The camera swings around the bow as the boat drifts free, then blasts forward when Lucia hits the throttle. Behind them, police sirens echo across the beach. Officers rush onto the pier, pointing lights toward the water. Extension open water, continuous. The speedboat slices across the waves. Spray hits the camera lens. Lucia narrows her eyes, gripping the wheel as the wind roars past. From the distance, two police boats emerge, blue lights flickering on the surface. Lucia. They're not giving up. Jason kneels by a small crate in the back. He pulls out several floating beacon decoys, round devices with blinking lights. Jason. These should buy time. He tosses one overboard. It lands with a splash, immediately drifting, its signal pulsing. Jason drops two more in a staggered pattern. Cut 2. The police boat sensors ping rapidly, confused by multiple signatures. Both vessels split directions, trying to track the false targets. Lucia seizes the moment and pushes the throttle further. The engine roars, launching the boat over a row of rough waves. The camera follows from above as they carve a sharp path toward the dark outline of the coastline. Jason. Decoys worked. They're way off. Lucia nods but stays focused, weaving between fishing markers and drifting buoys. Extension, quiet fishing cove, minutes later. The boat glides into a narrow cove tucked behind tall rocks. The water becomes calm, reflecting the fading colors of the sky. Small fishing shacks sit along the shore, untouched and silent. Lucia eases the boat to a stop. Jason jumps onto the dock and ties the rope with fast hands. For the first time in the mission, the tension fades. The characters breathe out deeply. Jason. Clean escape, we actually did it. Lucia steps out of the boat, offering a small smile. Lucia. And the heist? Worth every second. They walk toward the shadows of the cove, leaving the boat bobbing gently behind them. The camera pulls wide, showing the quiet shoreline as the last sunlight disappears. The journey victorious for now, but far from finished.